Welcome back to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. Well, Laurel, we're back together again. It's June of 2025. We have produced almost 4 full years of podcasts. How about that?
It's amazing. If you had ever told me that is the path we would be on when we first met, I never would have believed you.
When I first met Laurel, which was through an Instagram connection, I love our story. It's so fun. And I would read her posts and I'd be like, oh, I really like this Laurel. And also, she has my name. I don't really know any other Laurels. Wouldn't it be fun to actually meet her? And then, of course, I got to that point. I was committed. I'm going to do this podcast. And I didn't have a podcast partner. And I knew I wanted one. I wanted to have these kind of conversations. And I thought, I didn't think it. I'm going to clarify that. I literally felt like that was a time when sometimes I feel like my life is directed by something outside me. And I almost feel like something outside me said, Laurel Boivin. And I thought, that's interesting. So I direct message her, and her instinct was not to say yes. Let's put it that way. But 4 years later, aren't you so glad you did?
I am. I just have loved this journey that we've been
Yeah,
on.
it's been so
Having
good.
these conversations has been so wonderful for me, for our listeners, for you,
Yeah.
and the topics. There's not a lot of places that I have this type of conversation
Mm,
with other people.
yeah. Yeah.
And so when I think about bringing this inner work conversation to the world so that more and more people can speak freely about their inner work journeys, it has been really beautiful.
It has. It truly has. And I just want to say, unlike Laurel, most of my life is talking about this,
That's
either with
right.
in my work or, and in my family life. I developed a family, where we talked about a lot of inner stuff, and all of my children became inner work people and did their inner work. And so we all have had very open conversations and talk about this as a way of life. And so I think that's part of why I wanted to bring it to the world, because I felt like we all benefited from that. We all benefited from the ability to like break down the walls of not being able to talk about this kind of stuff and make it
Yes.
just part of our normal routine. And so the more that we can do that, I think the more the world becomes a beautiful place where we really truly live more in community, in support of one another, and in a deeper understanding of, it's hard to be a human in the world. We need love and we need understanding. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it has brought the intuition and the heart
Mm,
in to bring those two into the cognitive world that we live in.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's it. I'm seeing more and more of this conversation, but I largely am surrounded by cognitive head thinkers, solvers, solution finders, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that has been my experience for decades. So it's wonderful
And
to be able to bring that.
yeah, and when I was working in the mental health field, and did my degree work in that, I felt like there was such a emphasis, right, on the mental aspect of health, right? We were really talking about psychology, but as I grew as a practitioner and my own healing journey, I also became very, very aware of the whole emotional component of it all and the energetic component of it all. And that's when I really felt like I fell into the strength of my work, was because those areas excited me just as much as the mental health. And so to be able to talk about this inner work as a full body of all of that, to me, is very exciting. Yeah.
It is. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it to the world.
Oh, well, here we are thriving in our work, Laurel. And that's what we're talking about today, moving from surviving to thriving. So, we've got a great episode for you today. I know that if you're here and you've been with us for a while, we love to dish on all kinds of things. But today, I know I always get excited about every topic that we talk about, Laurel, but I love this one especially because I do feel like if you're in survival mode, uh, it's a hard way to keep going. Like one of the ways that we can identify that we're in survival mode is We're usually tired every day. We're not inspired. We're feeling like life is a drudgery. We're working really hard and we're not necessarily benefiting. And like there's so many aspects to feeling like you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, it's hard to let's say, really do the big inner work that's there for us to do, right? We need to start moving ourselves out of survival mode and feel like we have the energy to really look at the fullness of our life and all of the inner work that might be there that can help us get to that full thriving place in our life. Yeah.
Yes. And, when we are in that survival mode, we don't even see
Mm.
oftentimes that that's where we are,
Yeah.
right? So we're overthinking and we're problem solving and we're doing all of those things on autopilot,
Yeah.
and it doesn't leave room or we don't have the room to really notice and have this aha moment of, oh, maybe I am stuck in the doing
Yeah.
and not in the being.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the moment that, I was told that we're human beings and not human doers, that was an aha. I was like, oh, that is so true. And how am I going to change that? Right. And I felt like I was like a human doer. So for me, it was a turnaround moment, right? Of thinking, it was like at the beginning of a whole rearrangement energetically for me, right?
So what did you do?
I think I started thinking about, I did a lot of things, right? One was, first thing I stopped doing was I tried to stop multitasking because I was always doing so many things and constantly doing multiple things, right? And one of the big ahas I had was when I was with my children, I was often doing stuff while I was talking to them. And so one of the ways really made an effort to try to see if I could stop doing that and like stop and listen to them and talk for a while and then continue what I was doing. All that we're going to talk about today requires a slowing down.
Yes. Yes, it does. And it's so interesting to that the timing of this conversation because last week I was away and I didn't work every day, but I had one day that I did not work at all. It was intentional and it was a day of being present. And at the end of the day, I was really energized. I was like thriving.
Mm,
My spirits were lifted. I felt more creative. There was so much to it just
mm,
by a day of no screen time, a day of no telephone, a day of experiencing new sights and sounds
mm.
with my daughter, which, being present in that place, it really does put us in a different place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're groomed so much in America to focus on work, 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 and getting things done, getting things done. I don't know if that's changing. I think something's changing because I think a lot of people are having a hard time finding people that are really dedicated workers. So I'm not really sure. There's a mix of things going on right now, right?
Yes.
But the idea of constantly doing doesn't
Yeah.
leave us a lot of time for reflection, for being, for just sitting. One of the most healing things that we know, we've done the research, it's all there. One of the most healing things that we can do right now is just go out and spend time in nature and not do anything, right? Just even if you sat outside for 1 hour every day and just stared at the trees, at the plants, at the birds, whatever, how healing that would be for your nervous system.
It would.
And are we doing it? Is
No.
anybody doing it out there?
And this is really hard because
Yeah.
part of it is, if we could talk 3 more episodes about self-worth and productivity, right? What we have been led to believe is worthy of our time.
Mm,
You know, I can think of this myself, taking an entire day off to spend with my daughter. That is worthy of my time. Taking an hour to sit in the grass and look at the trees, I don't know that I could justify that as worthy of my time. And so
mm,
we have to decouple in order to thrive. We have to decouple this need for productivity and the
yeah,
self-worth that keeps us from from really being present in the moment
yeah,
and from multitasking. Multitasking is a great example. I multitask claiming that I don't have time not to, right? And so I do think the decoupling of our productivity and our worthiness is really important if we're going to thrive.
it is. It is. So, Laurel, in order for us to not like bounce all over the place, which we could,
Sure.
and I think there's value in that too, I want to come into if you feel like you're not thriving in your life and you feel stuck in any kind of way, let's begin with first of all, can you identify where you're in survival mode in your life? And we kind of brushed on that as we came in. I kind of alluded to that. But can you think of more journaling prompts or questions that you would ask, somebody that would be to help them identify, are you in survival mode? And if you think about the areas of your life, so last week on the podcast, I did a full moon meditation, and I took everybody through a process of going through your chakras, which are different 7 energy centers of your life that relate to the different aspects of your life, and beginning to question, are you in survival mode in these areas of your life? So that's one way to begin to move through it. Looking at your home life, right? Are you always exhausted at home? Do you feel overwhelmed by all the things there are to do there? Do you feel like you're always behind? Do you feel like you're tired? Do like think about that area of your life and start looking at if you and even just saying if you were thriving in your home life, what would that look like to you? Imagine yourself at home, thriving, excited to be there, feeling great, looking around going, this is just what I was hoping for, or whatever. What would that be, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes it's hard, like you said, it's hard to identify when you're in survival mode that you're
Yes.
actually there.
Yeah. For me, often the word excited, right? If I'm thriving, I'm excited about what is. I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited about what I have, what I'm surrounded by, or what I'm experiencing in that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And so, I mean, I'm going to give a great example of in my home. Last summer, we had wood floors put in our bedroom, and we bought a king size bed, and I have a new antique armoire that I just love. And when I walk into my bedroom, the energy is fresh and exciting and beautiful and light.
Mm,
And that room, I feel like I'm thriving in. And if
mm,
I walk into another room that, that might be dusty and cluttered, it's a whole different experience.
yeah.
So I like to use this example in a way of, when you're doing that inventory of your family life or your home life, maybe your job, can you notice, I'll call it your spirit.
Yeah.
Do you have a lightness of being, or is it heavy?
Mm, yeah.
And the lightness then brings me to creativity, right? When I'm in a place that I'm thriving, I'm far more creative. I'm I'm more playful, right? I'm enjoying differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, that's one of the things I notice a lot.
That's great. That's great. So, if you want to use that meditation, that's one way to begin to take yourself through the different areas of your life and then to be able to examine. I like one of the things I focused on in the meditation too is where are you motivated by fear?
Mm,
Right. So if you think about
yes.
places where you're like in your home, you're afraid at all, or relationships that you don't feel safe in, or work that makes you anxious all the time, or, like think about the places where fear comes up, because that will also help you identify, where you're not thriving or where you could
Yes.
make some changes that could bring you into a better space around it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that, so the first step is identifying where you're in survival mode. Then the next one is making a clear intention that you want to get out of survival mode, right? I mean, I know last month when we talked about, loss and disappointment and letting go, we were talking about this idea of acceptance versus resignation, right?
Yes.
So when
Mhm.
you're in survival mode, it's easy to just resign yourself to the fact that it's always going to be this way because you feel defeated already, right? If you're in survival mode. Well, that probably won't move you out of survival mode, right? So you're going to have the intention, somehow you're going to have to rally inside yourself, right? I want more than this. I believe I deserve more than this. I want my life to be more of an adventure or more interesting to me, less drudgery, right? And how am I going to start taking some steps towards that, right? But first, there has to be a clear intention that you want to take yourself out of survival mode.
There has to be a
Um,
clear intention.
yeah,
And this is where, if you need to engage a
yeah,
buddy, a partner,
yeah,
engage someone else, I know this is true for myself, that it's hard to lift yourself out of that place.
yeah,
And so if you have a trusted, friend, a trusted family member who you're comfortable with reminding you, right? You tell them, I really need to pull myself out of this place of
yeah,
survival.
yeah,
And and will you be my accountability buddy?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I know this is a big part of the coaching work that you and I do.
absolutely.
We help people move from where they are, feeling stuck, into something they want.
Yeah.
And it's really important to have that support system.
Yes, yes. And so that's really kind of the third element, I think, of moving from surviving to thriving is you have to have a support system around you that just think of wherever you are in your survival area, like once you've identified it, there's some sort of support that's keeping you there. Right.
Yes, or fear that's
Yeah.
keeping you there.
Or fear that's keeping you there. But there aren't people around you challenging you to get out of it, right?
That's right.
Usually you're stuck there, right? And so in order to really have that kind of, let's say, circle, right, that will hold you as you make that new life container, right? Usually we need a support system for that of some kind. So that can be accountability partner, it can be life coach, it can be therapist, it can be family that's supportive, it can be a community place where you go, a yoga studio. It can be, there's so many options there, right? But it's people that really want you to thrive just like you want it for you, right? And they're there
Yes.
to help you get there. Yeah.
And as you form your support circle, look at other people. Are they thriving? Right?
Mhm.
And spend time with them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
What
Put
does it
yourself
look
in
like?
that, right? Put that yourself in that energy of
Yeah.
being with people who are thriving, intentionally thriving.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do they say that we are the five people we spend time with?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it too, in terms of survival mode. When you think about, look at your five closest people in your life. Are they just surviving? What's going on in their lives, right? If you can't see it in yourself, maybe they can mirror something that you can see
Yeah.
that maybe you're in that same or similar place.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So doing inner work is a way of life.
Mm, this is a big one.
It is a big one. It is a big one. And I know that, we're here talking about inner life. So, of course, we're going to say this, or you think that, right? Out there, if you're listening to us. But I think that the people that I know that are thriving in their lives, right? They are addressing their inner life as much as their outer life.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, when I think you've kind of gone through 1 through 4, this living your inner work, right? Inner work as a way of life, it could start, it could be simultaneous with 1 and inner work, 2 and an inner work,
Right.
3 and inner work, right? So
Yeah.
bringing your inner work through every stage of your leaving the survival mode and coming into thriving is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So important. And there's tons of self help books out there. If you're feeling like, I don't know where to begin, I don't know what to do, you know, you can get on Amazon so easily, even if you're not purchasing through there, but at least you can look up self help, right? You can Google self help books. I mean, there's so many good places to go now where there's lists of all that kind of stuff. And think of one that speaks to you. I've recommended the Dance of Anger to so many people over time because anger is one of those issues in our culture that we don't deal with well. Wow. Well, if you know you're not dealing with anger, well, that's a great place to start, right? Four
Yes.
Agreements we've talked about over and over again. The Four Agreements is so simple. It's such a simple book. It's repetitive. Some people don't like it. Some people don't like the way he writes because I don't think English was his first language. But it's like it's simple. The premise of it is make these agreements, you start to break your old ones that aren't helping you thrive, right? Yeah. Yeah.
The other book that comes to mind is The Gifts of Imperfection, and we did a book circle on that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But Brene Brown just makes it so easy to have these kind of steps of what we can look at
Yeah.
in our own self and our behavior and really challenge ourselves to be living more aligned with what we want and who we are authentically.
Yeah. Yeah. And my journal, Live Your Inner Power, the journal.
Yes.
I always say this 256 pages. You're going to hear and get a lot of the questions that Laurel and I talk about on the show in the book written down, space for you to write in it. It's beautiful. You'll learn those practices. They're simple. It's not a complex equation that we're talking about here, but they are all practices that you bring into your life that are transformational, right? So, yeah,
Yes.
that's a great
Yes.
one. Um, and then finally, Laurel, I love the idea of as you begin to thrive, you actually get in touch with inadvertently, and not necessarily, this is not even like, oh, I'm going to find the gift that I'm here to bring to the world, or I'm going to find out who I really am and what I really want, how I want to use my voice, right? It almost just happens.
An added bonus.
It's an
Absolutely.
added bonus.
Yes.
And when you are feeling like you are living who you are truly are in your heart of heart and your soul of souls, and you are experiencing that, you realize you are a gift to the world. You truly
Yes.
do. I really believe that.
I do too. And I have experienced that, in my own life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When I think about the contrast between getting up and going to work every day in a job that was exhausting and I was in survival mode.
Mm.
And how different my life was then, how different my energy was then, right? How different I was.
Mm.
Where when you're in this thriving place, you really do want to continue to go out into the world and share your gifts with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
and you attract people who are also doing that.
yeah. Yeah. Who need your gifts and
Yes.
who can help you on your journey of
Yes.
giving your gifts to the world, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It almost
And
feels like such a natural magnetic, attraction experience.
it really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those 5 are really important. Thank you for those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do feel like in the world today, um, we have an interesting time that we're living through, right? Many of us feel like we don't have time to figure out how to thrive because we're just surviving.
Yes.
And yet, um, if we can slow down, if we can figure out how to slow down a little bit and refocus on just a few things that are super important, like take your top most important things, start to structure your life around that, let go of social media, television, all the ways that we distract ourselves from just living in the moment, right? We find that maybe there's more time than we thought.
Yes.
So,
Even multitasking, let's add that to that list
yeah,
because,
no,
I think there are studies that show that multitasking doesn't make us more productive.
right.
It actually makes us feel busier.
Yeah. And less productive. Sometimes we
Yeah.
are less productive. So
Yes.
it's worth an experiment of sorts to
Yes.
find out for you what works for you. But do experiment and do find your way to thriving because the world needs your gifts. We really do
Yes.
out here. We all do. We all contribute something quite unique and different to the world at large. And yeah, we want you to be able to thrive and enjoy bringing your gifts to the world too. Yeah.
Imagine a world where everyone was thriving.
And we were appreciating one another's gifts. That would be a
Mm,
wonderful thing.
beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for another great conversation, Laurel. Loved
As
it.
always, I do too. Can't
Yeah.
wait to be back together again.
Me too. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week for more beautiful work, beautiful life. Bye for now.
Bye.